But what we want to get into now is Barack Obama was out on the campaign trail recently for Kamala Harris. And man, if you can pick one person to get under Donald Trump's skin more than anybody, it is Barack Hussein Obama. He has been, as the saying goes, I don't even like repeating these sayings, but this one is true, living in his head rent free more than any person in the entire world. He cannot stand this man. Ever since he made fun of him at that correspondence dinner, he has been so angry and so hateful towards Barack Obama that just that name drives him absolutely insane. But Obama was on the campaign trail, had a few things to say about Donald Trump. In fact, Obama was talking about the price of diapers, and somehow Donald Trump's name came up. And I'm sure when Donald Trump heard it, probably didn't take too
car seat or diapers. I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed a diaper?
If you didn't hear that, somebody just yelled out his own.
Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it.
You know, that drove Donald Trump absolutely insane. And there is a partial potential that it is true. And it has been said. And again, I'm saying this half jokingly. This is not something I take seriously, but there have been rumors that Donald Trump does have to wear a diaper because he is having some issues as he's getting older and he's not able to hold it inside. So it would not be surprising to me if Donald Trump does wear a diaper. You've seen pictures online where it looks like the pants seem to be filled a little bit more than normal, than you would normally see. So Donald Trump wearing a diaper would not be surprising to me, but you know, I am not somebody that would say that with all, I don't say that definitively because I don't know that he wears a diaper or he doesn't, but it is possible. But this is something we were talking about a little bit earlier too, about being manly and masculine and who you vote for. Barack Obama made a point too about, you know, looking at what you perceive as the tough guy and voting for that guy. And this was Obama's response to it.
I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons, and that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've said this a million times, is, you know, the strength of a human being, the strength of man, or whatever it is you want to say, it is standing up for people who are marginalized, who have a harder time standing up for themselves. And you see, look at the movies. Whenever you see the movies, you see the superhero. What is the superhero always doing? The big, strong superheroes that go out and save people. What are they always doing? They're defending people who can't defend themselves. They're not assholes who go around saying pets are being eaten and making fun of somebody because they're not like you, and disparaging somebody because they I don't even know, why, but that to me is the real strength of a man, and somebody that could step up and go, "Hey, dude, that shit ain't cool. What is your problem? Just let them alone. Go about your own business and mind your own business." Tim Walz says that. So, I'm glad that he said that. The people that you're talking to, though, they already know this. The people voting for Donald Trump do not know this. They don't know this. They think that a guy who talks like a professional wrestler is the tough guy. They think that the guy who trolls libtards is the tough guy. But again, to me, these are sad people. These are sad people who have little to no identity of their own. So they need somebody else to create this identity for them. And that's why you see an overcompensation with a lot of these guys who their whole identity is not them and what they've accomplished in their own lives and what they can do and who they stand up for. It is all about one guy that has given them their personality. That's why they have t-shirts, hats, flags. I'll admit, part of my personality are my sports teams. The Mets, the Celtics, the Dolphins, the Hurricanes. That's why you'll see me wear hats and t-shirts, and I will get into my team. But at the end of the day, my team is not affecting other people's lives. It is not insulting somebody unless maybe you're the opposing team. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking to eliminate that team from society. I'm not looking to eliminate these teams from the league. I might be looking to eliminate them during the playoffs. But outside of that, it's just more good natured. It is a spirit and something that you root for. But these people make Donald Trump a lifelong con man, a lifelong liar, a convicted felon, a guy who is found liable for rape and sexual assault. This is their personality now. This is what they've taken on as this is who I am as a human being, because I personally myself can't express to you who I am as a human being because I've really been able to do nothing to do that. So I need somebody else to do that for me. And to me, that's pretty sad. And I wish, again, I've said this before, but I wish the people who have that mentality would get the help that they need. Finally, this is Barack Obama talking about the economy. Now, I've said a million times, this is something close to my heart, the economy, because it drives me insane that, in fact, I think the Democrats could have done a way better job talking about the economy for the last at least 2 years. And first of all, I want to play the clip about what Barack Obama has to say about the economy and how he played the role as to why Donald Trump's economy was good and not because of Donald Trump, which is factual. And we'll get into that after the clip.
And the reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy.
100%.
We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did.
200%.
I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time.
300% correct.
So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, that He didn't do nothing.
You know, and I cut out just a second early, but excellent job. But Democrats, where were you saying this? Why were you not saying this for years? I still, to this day, cannot understand why the Democrats could not lay out exactly where the economy was when Donald Trump took over, why the economy got where it was after Donald Trump left, and where it is now. Why can't we effectively explain that to the American people? And you know, part of the problem is because Democrats are so scared of how, if you explain it properly, how the right-wing propaganda media will take it and shape it into a way that Democrats are putting the blame on somebody else and they're not taking responsibility for the economy. Well, they shouldn't have to take responsibility for the economy because the economy, first of all, was not their fault. And as I said, wasn't even necessarily Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump did a terrible, terrible, terrible job handling COVID as far as the amount of people who died from that horrific pandemic. But the economy, what happened at the end of Donald Trump's term, where all the jobs were lost, where GDP was in the minus. We weren't even in the plus in GDP when Donald Trump left office. When all that stuff happened, that was going to happen. Didn't matter. Barack Obama himself could have been president. That was going to happen. One of the greatest economical presidents that we've ever had in the history of this country, Bill Clinton. Guess what? That would have happened. It would have happened no matter what, because the pandemic, in fact, you hear even Donald Trump say, we had everything going great until the pandemic. So why is it okay for Donald Trump to take credit or discredit what happened during the economy because of the pandemic, but Joe Biden wins and then all of a sudden everything is Joe Biden's fault? It's logic. Just logistically think about it for a second. But you know what? People can't do that in this country. They are simplistic in their way about thinking about things. And again, I'm not saying that every single person is simplistic thinking about it this way, but there are too many people who do not understand how things work. And they are very simple, especially when you have a right-wing propaganda media who is going to tell everybody, well, inflation is high. You know why? Joe Biden's president. They mentioned COVID and the pandemic 0 times. They will not mention the pandemic and say that the economy is not great right now because of the pandemic. It's because Joe Biden's president. Well, why? Why is it? Well, because he gave people money during the pandemic. Well, so did Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump gave more money than Joe Biden gave. Well, the deficit and the debt. Well, hold on. Donald Trump's deficit and debt is 2 times the amount, $8 trillion when he left office. The debt went up to $8 trillion. Joe Biden's was $4 trillion. So it was half. So how is the inflation Joe Biden's fault? Well, he's president. No, I understand, but every single country in the world had double-digit inflation. Some countries still are suffering from bad inflation. Why is it Joe Biden's fault? Doesn't matter if people believe it. That's all we care about. And guess what? Way too many people believe it. I have people to this day still telling me inflation's high. If you're listening to what I just said, do you think inflation is high? Do you? Tell me what the inflation rate is right now if you think inflation's high. Well, I'm paying more for eggs. No, you're not. You're not paying more for eggs. If you look at the price of eggs nationwide, they are on the same level that they were pre-pandemic. So you're not paying for it. You know why you think you're paying more for it? Because you hear Fox News telling you you're paying more for it. And you're going to continue to regurgitate that without fact. You don't care about fact. In fact, it's been clear that this country does not care about fact anymore. They just don't. They care about what works for them. And what works for them right now is that inflation is high, which it's not. In fact, today, new report, it went down even more. We're down to 2.4% inflation, an inflation that was at 9% during Biden's term, but it wasn't because of Joe Biden. It was because of COVID and what COVID did worldwide to the entire world. If COVID had never hit, I'll admit one thing, and I've admitted this on the show before, COVID never hit, very possible Donald Trump's still the president. Why? Because the economy was doing well under his presidency, but just as Barack Obama said, it was because he took over an economy that was already way on the upswing. This is not something that I'm saying because I want you to believe it. As I've said a million times on this show, don't believe me. I don't care if you don't believe me. Go do your own research and just figure out, where was the economy when Barack Obama left office? Was it going up? Were things on the uptrend? He took over one of the worst economies in the history of this country. We were this close to another Great Depression when Barack Obama took over. And when he left office, everything was on the upswing economically. So all Donald Trump had to do was sit around and do nothing, which is basically what he did until the tax cuts for the rich came. And then the tax cuts for the rich came and exploded the debt. And that's Donald Trump's legacy. That and starting an insurrection against his own country because he's such a baby that he couldn't handle losing to Joe Biden in 2020, which he lost, and he lost badly, and he lost cleanly. He lost with absolutely no election interference. There was nothing nefarious about the election in which he lost, and that's just like the bottom line. Like I said, if anybody disagrees with what I'm saying, again, I'm please just share with me exactly what Donald Trump did for the United States economy to be where it was when he was president, and exactly what Joe Biden did to make inflation go up, even though it went up everywhere around the world, and explain to me why Joe Biden's policies not only made inflation go up in this country, but why did it go up in every single other country? And in fact, even way more than it did in this country. Why did it go up in every other country across the world? And why are people still in other countries trying to recover from the pandemic when this country, for the most part, has recovered? Not just inflation. Inflation went from 9.1%. Now it's down to 2.4%, which the Federal Reserve wants to be around 2%, which we're basically right there. And that's exactly why the Federal Reserve just lowered the interest rates, because they saw an incredible recovery in the economy in this country. Unemployment, unparalleled. What happened during Joe Biden's presidency, despite the pandemic and despite COVID, unemployment was under 4% for 2 straight years. That had not happened in 50 years. That is unprecedented, that when you are going through an inflationary time where not only did you not lose jobs, but you gained jobs, and unemployment was at a 50-year low for 2 straight years. I could go down 5-10 other economic factors that happened under Joe Biden during pandemic and the recovery. And what happened during that presidency was just remarkable. And again, I've said this once, I'll say it every single time I have the opportunity to say it. Joe Biden's presidency is going to go down as one of the most consequential and best presidencies that we've ever had in this country. His leadership through the inflationary times, through the pandemic, and everything that he did. And because he was old, he didn't quite get the same sort of media coverage and press. More people were focusing on this guy's age. So in the short term, his legacy is going to be he was old and it was time for him to move on. But when time goes on and the legacy is going to be written by historians and professional scholars, not by people on 8chan and on Truth Social. I don't care about what they have to say because they're programmed cuckoo clocks. They don't know what they're saying. So it doesn't matter what they say. But when you hear people who actually understand history and understand what did happen during the 4 years of Joe Biden, you're going to find out that Joe Biden's going to go down as one of the best presidents and leaders that this country's ever seen. Proud to have voted for him. I would have voted for him again. I still think he would have won if he had ran. But that's all I got to say about that. I was just speaking about the January 6th and the insurrection against your own country and talking about the 2020 election and the fact that we are in 2024 and that we are still mentioning the 2020 election and whether or not it was fair, whether or not it was rigged, to me is a disservice to the American people. And it is the media has failed this country severely. All media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Newsmax. I don't care what channel you want to throw at me because I get that all the time in the comments, or I get it anytime I make a comment on Twitter or whatever, is that everything that I get is from CNN or MSNBC. I'm not a religious person, so I'm not going to swear to God. I will say that I love my dog and my cat, and I will swear on their lives that I literally do not sit around and watch CNN or MSNBC. I don't watch it. You know, I used to record Rachel Maddow every night, and I would watch Rachel Maddow. I even stopped watching Rachel Maddow, not because I have any issue with her. I still think she's fantastic, and I think she does a great job. But I am kind of over the sensationalized television. I'm over the opinionated television. I particularly like straight news and facts. Again, what I'm saying is I believe that Rachel Maddow is very factual. I believe that everything she's saying is based on fact. I think a lot of the things that CNN say are based on fact, but there's way too much opinion added into these facts, which I'm not a fan of. Now, you could say, well, Jesus Christ, Brian, isn't your whole show based on opinion? It is. And you would have a very good point because a lot of what I am saying is obviously an opinion, but I like to at least express my opinions based on facts. And for me, because I don't like cable news and I don't like people sitting around and just screaming at each other and yelling at each other, this for me is at least a therapy. This at least I could just express myself and talk to people that are out there. I get people who agree with me. I get people who disagree with me. And, you know, for me, at least just for me, I feel better being able to do this. And I just, like I said, I don't know. I'm over the whole cable news thing. I'm just over the way that they over sensationalize things instead of having just straight conversation. But I don't know. That's just me. That's just my opinion. And I will admit what I'm saying there may not be factual to you, but that's just how I feel about cable news overall.